Here we are, the final episode of the Scared Shiftless series. After the building we've done, and we've done lots, this course is Fiend. Now all we have to do is code in a custom resource pack, create toggleable quotes and music, have a toggleable narration system, and built-in game and timer, and create a floating Yeah, it's sort of a lot. But to start off, I thought I would go ahead and first establish what we need to get done. The essentials of what makes this a game functioning. Which the essentials are a reset button, a built-in timer, and an atmospheric change as the player progresses through the map. First things first though, I wanted to go ahead and select a location for my reset button. What the reset button would basically do was resetting key features like detection zones that would trigger atmosphere change, the in-game timer, and other features. Although I couldn't make the reset button actually functional yet, since I hadn't created all the other parts, I decided to put one here and one here. Just since once you got out of this cave part, you couldn't actually go back. What both of these buttons did for the time being was basically to create a redstone pulse by setting a redstone block above this command block that's constantly setting that same block to air. Just like this, a redstone pulse is created, and from this spot, I can have all the reset command blocks get triggered by these two buttons. After I made this design though, I realized something, and that was that I could actually have a reset button, but instead of being in one stationary spot, I could be holding it in my hand. That's right. Using a carrot on a stick and a scoreboard, what I could essentially do was have these three command blocks. The first being a command to detect if a player triggered the carrot on a stick by right-clicking on the tool. The second being a command that immediately reset the first command block. And the third being the command block that set a redstone pulse to trigger the reset button. But with all that in place, I thought it'd be the next best thing to have the built-in timer. I'd never messed around with this exact issue before, but I knew I'd probably be using loads of scoreboards and command blocks. I just didn't realize how many hours it would take me to figure this out. Looking up Minecraft in-game timers actually brought up this tutorial created by Flopsy, and while it was a seriously great video and a sort of explanatory enough, it wasn't actually for a timer that counted up, but rather a countdown that counted down. So I began to scour YouTube for any sort of speedrun timer help, and I found after hours and hours and hours of searching, absolutely nothing. Every single tutorial I found, even if it was semi in the right direction, typically had a fairly ugly formatting for the actual timer. And I almost gave up on the in-game timer because of this. But instead, I persevered, knowing it just had to be possible. And after some more hours of searching, I finally found it. It was this channel right here. Yeah, I actually never found it, but instead, I went back to Flopsy's video and figured it out myself. Which probably took 10 times longer than I'd spent searching for videos. But with loads of experimentation and deep dives into command blocks, this is the setup I actually came up with. And, well, I'd explain it, but it's sort of hard. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna wing the explanation. So while this looks like a ton of command blocks and it looks kind of freaky, a little bit frightening, right here we'll start off with this command block, which is basically a title command block. When we place this right here, it shows all the numbers for the timer that we have that we can use. The way the timer works is actually based off this command block right here. What this constantly does is when it's powered, it adds one tick constantly. For those of you who don't know, there are 20 ticks, 20 Minecraft ticks in 1 second, and so that is actually how we get a timer. This bottom command block and this chain command block right here, what it does is it says, okay, if the ticks match 20, what we're actually gonna go ahead and do is add 1 second to the clock. And that is what this command block is right here. When the 1 second digit, which is this digit right here, when it ends up reaching 10 seconds, that means that it's time to reset the score back to 0. So that's what this does. And then this command block activates and it adds 1 second to the tens digit of the second spot. And this just kind of goes on, so forth, so on. For the minute, it's actually a little bit different. When the 60 second, when the 6 reaches in that spot, it resets that to 0, but it also adds 1 minute to the 1 minute because there are 60 seconds in a minute. And so this just goes on, basically adding to the 10 spots of the seconds, the hours, or the minutes, and then the hours to add your full timer. So as soon as we start triggering this right here, you'll be able to see that the seconds start ticking up and this timer begins. And then over here, these are a bunch of command blocks that basically reset the timer and also disable the title so that you don't see the title anymore. This is to make it all actually toggleable. And then this right here is what starts the timer. So we'll press that right there and you can see the timer's still going. That's because I've left this command block right here. But if we do this again, if we reset this again real quick, it'll start us off at 0. So then what we have over here is with all that done, I've got my carrot and stick commands, which I showcased earlier. So this creates a nice reset button. And over here, I've just got some detection command blocks. You can't see the detection, but basically if I jump on this gold block, it will start the timer and trigger it for us automatically. And when we reach the diamond block, which will be the finish line in the map, it goes ahead and stops the timer, which we got a score of 5 seconds. If I want to use my carrot on the stick, I can right click and reset if I'm not happy with the time. And then you can just keep going back and forth. If you hadn't completed it, say we reset right here, it'd be fine. It would stop the timer and then it would start it again. But That was Redstone with yeahhhhh right there. My best explanation at how this timer works, and I'll have a lot of playtesting before I actually put this into the game. I also forgot to mention that there are a bunch of scoreboards that actually indicate the hour, minute, second, and tick, and that's actually part of what makes this all functional. So yeah, that meant that now I had figured out my reset button and my in-game toggleable timer. At this point, I was feeling super confident and ready to actually incorporate this into the actual map. And with the next feature I wanted to add, it only made sense to go ahead and add it all. And that feature that I mentioned earlier was an atmospheric change that would take place as the player gradually proceeded up this hectic parkour mountain. But this part I knew was going to be easy because of coordinate-based detection zones used by repeated command blocks to detect where a player had come and gone. By figuring out how many blocks up the player goes and dividing that number by 24, because there's 12 hours before it becomes midnight, and I wanted 2 time changes per hour, this would give me the height needed to place each detection zone. That was a mouthful, but I promise it makes sense. After this was done, I tied each command block to a particular time and made it so that if you went up, the sky would become more like night, but falling down would change it back to day. So this now meant that I had the 3 most important components figured out and finished: the time changer, the timer, and the reset button. But with all this finished, the next part I knew I'd want to move on to would be the script, and script-like segments, and have them to be toggleable as well. One of the reasons I think Benefati's game took off so much was his beautiful poetic script he had for his game.
There's no feeling more intense than starting over. If you deleted your homework the day before it was due, as I have, or if you left your wallet at home and you have to go back after spending an hour in the commute.
Isn't that voice just amazing? So I thought I'd go ahead and make a custom resource pack inputting my own script and my own inspirational quotes and even music. And also as a plus, since a resource pack would be required for this game, I actually also went ahead and retextured the carrot on a stick reset button to look even cooler. But the way I would have the script work and the random quotes and music work would be 2 separate ways of working. For the script, I wanted this to go at a slow set pace where the more you progress through the course, the more script you hear. So in order to make that work, what I ended up doing was creating this smart system right here, which I'm going to go ahead and explain to you guys right now. Basically what this is it looks very complex, but I promise you it's not that bad. Right here, a redstone block will eventually be powered here, and this will be by a detection zone command block. So for example, right when you get to the tree in the cave section, as soon as you walk up into the area that corresponds to that, what will end up happening is a redstone block will be placed right here. It will trigger this, and this will be the script sound block along with a couple others. The first command block is a stop sound command block, just in case there are any other sounds that are playing so that they don't intermix with the actual script. The next song, as you can see by the sign, is the play sound command, so this will be the actual script playing. And then the third command block is a summoning minecart relative to coordinates, which where it summons it is right up here. And the reason I have this minecart system in place is because this is actually a timer. Even though it doesn't look like it, it's a toggleable timer. I can add as many cobwebs as I want. Each cobweb I think is equivalent to about 24 seconds. I think that's what it is. Don't quote me on that. But it goes into this cobweb system right here, which is kind of a timer. And what I have happen is basically, I have it so that this script has to finish before the second one can trigger, just because you don't want audio overlapping. And so the way it does that is once this minecart falls down onto this rail, it goes over this detector rail. There's a couple command blocks right here. The first one is to set a block of stone, which this stone is actually going to go right here so that this system can function properly. This just means that the script is done and this script is allowed to go through whenever it's ready, whenever the player goes through the detection zone. This second command block is a kill command, and this is just to go ahead and as soon as the minecart goes over here, it kills all the minecarts in this vicinity so that you won't have like false detection systems going off. This third command block is actually a unique one. It's a play sound command, and this is just because on the first and last audio scripts, I have music play after I'm done talking. But that's nothing of concern right now for the way the system works. This was a really tough problem I had figuring out, but I eventually got it all sorted, and I'm pretty sure it works. I still actually need to test it and make the resource pack, but I'm working on that right now. So that is how the steady progression of narrative script goes, though, using these command blocks, and there's 11 sections for 11 sections of the script that I have created. Now the second timer works a little bit differently, and this is because what I also wanted to have was randomized quotes and music playing. So the way that this works is right here, we've got a repeating command block that executes if 0 minute matches 20. That means if the 0 becomes a 2 in this first spot, this repeater will end up activating, which I'll go ahead and demonstrate now. But before I actually demonstrate that, I thought it'd probably be a good idea to explain the rest of the command blocks because it all happens kind of quickly. It's a very quick sequence of events that happens next. So when the timer reaches 20 minutes, it powers these 3 command blocks right here. This first one is a set block command for air. And what this does is it sets this stone right here, this stone block to being air, so that while this is constantly detecting, it only triggers once, because this is going to keep going while the minute remains 20 until it changes to 30, and that's when it will deactivate. The second one right here, the second command block is a set block redstone command block, and that actually triggers one of these right here. For this particular one, I believe it is the script section, or I mean the random quote section. That's what it is. Both of these both activate a random quote generator or a random sound generator. Song generator. Man, I'm getting my words mixed up. This third command block, I believe, is yet another command block just to set the stone block to air. I don't know why I accidentally duplicated that, but that's okay. I'm just gonna leave it like that because it works. So what this will end up doing is this will trigger once, and it will trigger a randomized command block generator. The way the randomized command block generator works is it activates a redstone block right here that immediately disappears, and then it activates once this command right here, which is an execute command. It's basically finding an entity and then running a set block redstone command block underneath it, but it has a random limit of 1, so it only activates once. So it's basically finding one of these boats and choosing at random, it doesn't matter which one of these to play. And when it does, it activates a sound. So this will be a random quote generator, and this will be a random song generator that will play. You might get songs multiple times in a row, but that's up to chance. And because it's kind of hard to demonstrate this, I've actually put these pistons here so that we can see that one of these does end up activating. What I'm going to go ahead and do now is power the timer so that seconds start adding to the clock, and once it hits 20 minutes, this will trigger, this stone block will disappear, and we'll get a randomized command block pretty much playing, like a demonstration of it. So it disappears, and you can see one of the pistons activated, which means that one of the sounds, I'll eventually have these be command blocks. One of these just played, which is a random quote. Now, because this block disappears, it is repeatable, but basically what I have over here is another command block. And this is basically, if the minute matches 30, it will set this block right here and this block right here to both be stones so that these two mechanisms can activate. And that's just to make sure that once the stone is deleted like it has been here, it will get reset. I also have in a huge reset button over here, a place where it also sets those stones if you reset. But yeah, the only difference with the random song generator is that this is if it matches 40 minutes, so 4, then it will play a random song. So at 20 minutes, you always get a random quote. At 40 minutes, you always get a random song. That is, unless you've toggled it off. Woo! That was a lot of explaining and not scripted right there, so I hope that made sense to you guys. I tried to explain that as thoroughly as possible, but with that said, let's move on to the next part of the video. The next part of the video is actually going to be about the magic behind the toggleable music, voiceover, and timer. But considering we just got done with loads of command block magic, I thought instead it'd be a good idea to show the first part of the script and see how it looks in game. And here's how it looked in game. I will go ahead and I will walk and trigger the zone, and I won't talk because then I will be talking through the script. I'll go ahead and let you guys hear what the first part sounds like while I go ahead and try to do some parkour. Insanity, by Einstein's definition, is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. Scared Shiftless is an unforgiving, extraordinarily difficult game that will separate the insane from the determined. If you're not ready for this kind of challenge, it might be better to save this map for another day. But if you are, proceed on with this warning in mind. And yeah, that sort of sounded like me talking because it's part of the script, and that's what it's going to be like. I'll have lots more pieces of scripts as you progress through. Like I have the next zone, like right as you accomplish the actual the tree. I could not think of the word. And music randomly triggered too, which I guess that's supposed to happen after the script is done. So that sort of makes sense. That was really delayed though. So as you guys can see, it's really turning into something special this game. I know in today's video, I mentioned at the beginning that this is the last one, and it totally is. But the map won't be coming out the same day. Instead, I'll be releasing it next Friday on October the 7th with a YouTube announcement to let everyone know, and announcements on my Twitter and socials and Discord. This is just so I can have some playtesting done and add some more exciting features and builds. I just really want this map to be super special and flawless in execution. So with that said, apologies for having this video be a little bit late, but I will see you guys in the next one. Until then, enjoy life, enjoy Minecraft, and again, I'll see you all in the next one. Ciao!